Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Reason We Learn. I'm Deb Philman, mom, homeschooler, individualist. I think I'm going to change that from educator to individualist. Yeah. Um, don't really think the term educator fits me anymore, and I definitely don't want to call myself a teacher, even though I do teach and I tutor and I do those things. I don't really want to be identified with teachers at the moment. Sorry. So I'm going to just call myself an individualist because that's what I do want to be associated with is defending individual liberty and freedom of speech and all those wonderful values that matter so much to me. But I digress. So I was on vacation for a week. I'm sorry I did not make a bunch of videos to release while I was gone. For my subscribers, if you're new here, this is all news to you. Thanks for coming. Um, but I want to just jump right in and get to some topics I've been thinking about over the past week. I've been thinking about this one that just came up in my feed today, in fact, because I was in Florida on vacation. And it was nice to be in Florida because in Florida, at least with regard to this virus, you are still treated as an adult. So you're an adult. You can make your own decisions about your health and your risk mitigation. And businesses that have choices can make their own decisions about what they want their customers to do. And so you may wear a mask, you may not wear a mask, but there's not a state mandate. The state is not, ordering you about like you are stupid or a traitor or, can't read, those kinds of things. Sounds funny coming from me, right? Now that I'm focusing on literacy so much and what a high percentage of our kids can't read. But let's just say most of us over the age of 40 probably can read. So, we weren't damaged quite as much as the kids today. But it was nice. It was nice to feel like I was treated like an adult, not like a little child who needed government to parent me. And that brings me to this tweet. It seems we've reached a place where we treat children like adults and adults like children. Well, why did this resonate so much with me and why am I bringing it to your attention? Well, what have I said on this channel about the curriculum, BLM in the classroom, critical race theory in the classroom, teaching that white people are oppressors and people of color, BIPOC, whatever you want to call them, are victims, they're the oppressed, etc. It's that you are asking pre-rational children, if we're talking prior to 12th grade, you're asking pre-rational children to wrap their minds around extremely complex abstract concepts like racism itself, like white supremacy, like even history that they know nothing about yet because they haven't been taught any of it. And you're asking them to grapple with these things they can't possibly do. First of all, most of them don't read. We have 66% illiteracy now in America. And by literacy, I mean you can't read above a fourth grade level, even when you're in 12th grade. That's functionally illiterate. You certainly are not numerate enough to understand the kind of research studies that you might be shown, and you certainly can't question them. You've not been taught to think critically to question it. You're in a classroom where you know the way to get a good grade is to please the teacher, say what the teacher wants to hear, so you're unlikely to challenge things even if you wanted to. Plus, there's a lot of social currency in agreeing with what's being taught these days, the narrative. So you treat these little kids as young as kindergarten like they're adults. Like, well, they would chat, they can speak up and they get, no, they can't. No, they can't. No child in your class, K through 12, is going to really effectively challenge the teacher on any of these things if they find something objectionable or questionable. They're not going to do it. It's just not, they're not equipped in terms of the skills or the psychology or even the critical thinking, not brain capacity. They can't do it. So those are adult higher order skills. Then you have the fact that they don't have any context. They haven't lived life long enough. They haven't learned enough about how the world works. So we're taking something that is challenging even when you give it to college students, and we're putting it in front of little kids and saying, well, of course, they need to know this. No, they don't. All you're doing is indoctrinating. They can't possibly interact with this material as they should be able to. And even, as we know, even adults in college are just taking this on and regurgitating it, and they're not really questioning it. Even those who want to question it get all tied up in knots and feel like they're going to get in trouble, they're going to get a bad grade, and they just shut down. This is something also that is more typical of less emotionally mature people of any age, because it takes a lot of maturity to understand where you end and someone else begins, and what you can and cannot say, and so forth, and what real world consequences are versus this perceived threat of, oh no, I'll get a bad grade. You want to say to them, And then what, right? Because we adults understand that that's still not the worst thing in the world that could happen. Losing your integrity and your mental health is much worse. But they don't know that. They don't have any frame of reference. They don't have life experience. So we're treating them like adults. And then we're turning around and talking to the adults, their parents, their teachers, their school board members, the government that rules over them, all this kind of thing, like the precious little babies that have to be coddled and can't be, oh, I'm afraid and I can't tell them the truth. And if I do it, they're going to break. And if I don't use the right pronouns, the person's going to commit suicide. I mean, we're talking about people who are over 18 as if they're fragile little creatures that have to be coddled and catered to. And, or, if you're in government, we're talking to adults like they don't know their own minds and they couldn't possibly make their own decisions about their lives, their children's lives. They have to have mandates. They have to have rules. They have to be told when and where and who and what, where you can work, who can work, how much you can make, how, whom you can employ, whom you, may not speak to, what you may not say. All of these things are the way parents, really authoritarian parents, might talk to children. And we're supposed to just take it. So either you've got the children are being coddled like spoiled brats, or you've got authority figures treating you like you're an errant child and can't make your own decisions. While we're turning to these little kids, they'll be fine. They don't need to be in-person learning. They're just, stay home and you're good. You don't want to make anyone sick. Like, explaining that to your child is going to make it okay. They look like, oh, yes, you're right. I have to be responsible for my teacher's health and well-being. I just wouldn't want to. Thanks, Mom, for explaining it to me. Why I can't play varsity baseball this week. I mean, this is like utterly ridiculous. You wouldn't even ask that out of an adult. So this is this weird changing, it's like that movie, not Trading Places, where like Freaky Friday or something, where they trade places and they have to be each other. That's what it feels like to me on a mass scale. And I want to show you a couple of examples where adults are demonstrating that they think other adults are little children. And it's really quite striking. It's really quite striking. So first, let's go to these examples here. All right, this is a Democratic representative from Kentucky talking about parents having a choice of where to send their kids. Were you aware of that? Did you know you already had school choice? That it's your equal choice. You can choose to send your kids to private school. You don't have to, So let's listen to what this charming individual has to say. This is really amazing.
Parents have a choice where to send their kids. My parents sent 8 kids to Catholic schools, and we paid our own way without asking for welfare from the government. Parents
without
have
asking
a choice
for welfare from the government. Now she goes on. It gets better.
Now, I went to Catholic schools for 12 years, grade school and high school. My parents had 8 children, and we all attended private schools. But they did not come to the Kentucky legislature with their hands out and say, give me your money.
Whose money? I'm sorry, whose money? Your money? No, the government doesn't have money. It's not the government's money. It's the people's money that the government is supposed to responsibly manage. And in this specific case, for the purpose of buying or facilitating the purchase of an education, not for propping up the public school system, as Corey DeAngelis points out. What she doesn't understand is the money doesn't belong to the government. The school system exists to serve families, not the other way around. Education funding is meant for educating children, not for protecting a particular institution. We should fund students, not systems. Of course, but you have a choice. Did you know that? She went to Catholic school. All 8 children went to Catholic school, and it's welfare for you to come with your handout for your own money. Or how about not your handout? How about just keep your mitts out of my wallet, lady? How about that? But she's talking to these parents, like out there, like they're errant little children robbing the cookie jar. How dare they stick their fingers in the cookie jar? Like she wants to smack their hand back when it's their cookies. They bake them. They put them in the cookie jar. They're meant to be eaten by them, not by her. And it is not for her to decide. It's simply not for her to decide. It's not welfare. It's actually welfare for the public school teachers in the public school system and the administrators and all of that, that's welfare. They're the ones going to government and say, protect our monopoly, please. Don't let those mean parents. They're going to hurt us. They're the ones acting like little children. And the parents are just trying to be adults and take care of their kids. And this one's talking to them like they're little kids. It is, it's hard to believe, except there it is. There it is for all the world to see. And then here's the other charming thing that's been going on. So these are Facebook responses to an article in the local paper regarding a parent-state coalition request to open public schools 5 days a week. This is in Maryland. Mind you, Maryland is one of the last states to reopen. Something is really wrong here. Parent bashing, ignorance of the science. Maybe this person's just a doctor, genuinely trying to understand. So she obviously knows what the science is. Get a load of some of these. Parents want their free babysitters back. First of all, can we have a chat about free? Free? They're not free. They paid. They literally paid, and they were promised that from X hour to X hour, these kids of these months would be in school. And parents ordered their lives around it. They literally ordered their lives around it. They probably have jobs arranged around that, care provided around that. That's like how they order their lives, on the promise by government, by the teachers, by the schools that would be available. There's nothing free about it. It's an extremely high cost for these parents. Some of them make a lot less than the teachers. Many of them don't even have a college degree like the teachers do. And they surely don't all have the same benefits the teachers have, which is why this to me is just so, they want this. Again, they don't sound like they're talking about adults. They sound like they're talking about errant little children who just want, something for free. They're spoiled brats. That's how they sound like they're talking about. Cases have gone up 18% in the last 2 weeks. So I hate to break it to you, but a case is not a hospitalization, is not a death. It's not even symptoms. It's a positive test. That's it. And we have, just because they want to make their kids sick doesn't mean we should let them. Let's sit a moment on let. Who's we and who's let? And who's in charge of the kids? And how many logical fallacies can we pack into one statement? We have a straw man argument. We have ad hominem. And then whatever the heck this is, appeal to authority of some sort. I don't recall electing that person to be somebody's mom or dad. What? They can breed but not provide love and time? Is parent group willing to put up $100 million for, why is the dollar sign over here? For liability insurance if teachers suffer because of their poor parenting? How is it poor parenting to want your child to go to school? You see, these parents are getting it coming and going from the system. If they don't want to put their kids in school, if they want to homeschool them or make some other choice, then they're being irresponsible and selfish and lazy because they're not supporting their local public schools. Racist too, by the way, even if they're black. And then, or Asian. And then this whole, they can breed. Okay, this is how you talk to adults. When parents say we want our kids back in school, most just mean out of my house. Look at these people. How do they know what most mean? How do they know this? And if they're teachers, we don't know if they are. In fact, she says in the thread, she says, I want to clarify, I don't know if these are teachers. These are comments in a newspaper thread. The newspaper posted an article talking about Parent Coalition is asking to back 5 days a week. Well, I happen to know for a fact that teachers are basically spending their free time swarming all over these kinds of things to make comments exactly like this. I have seen threads on teacher union accounts that I'm now blocked from in many cases, but that they're being very explicit. And this free babysitter thing has come up a lot. Remember the school board, they had to resign because they said on a live mic with parents listening, they just want their free babysitters. That's not free, guys. You guys have been getting paid this entire time. Many parents haven't, and they're not the ones who promised themselves this stuff. These systems exist, and every time parents say, hey, we'll go somewhere else, just give me my money back and we'll go somewhere else, they're told they can't have it back, and they're selfish and horrible, evil, racist, terrible people for wanting to do that. And it's all to protect the jobs of the people now calling them names and bashing them and talking about them and their children, that they're terrible parents because they want their kids to go to school. This is now bad parenting. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. And then I got somebody, when I objected to these comments, I get this. people are cool with many people working from home. The only reason they aren't cool with teachers doing it from home is because, as one of the teachers rightly said, she's referring to that thread I just showed you, they want unpaid babysitters. You mean not doubly paid, because we already paid. They've already paid. It's not unpaid. It just means I don't have to write another check for childcare. And in fact, many of these parents who do have to work, they're the sole breadwinner, single parent, they have had to find other childcare and they have been paying double. So this is doubly offensive. And to be frank, that's not a good enough reason for teachers to risk their lives. No, it wouldn't be if it were true. But they're not risking their lives. Any teacher who's legitimately risking their life because they have a serious immunity problem can stay home. They can make accommodations, and everybody's eligible for a vaccine now. And there's been plenty of time for them to get vaccinated, and now even vaccinated teachers are saying they don't want to go back because you know why? They want their paycheck for doing less work. So can we talk about that? So who are the adults and who are the children here? The ones who want to get paid the same to do less are being treated somehow like, we have to allow that to happen. And then the parents are being treated like they're terrible, spoiled brat little children. This doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, this is what I see going on, that we have something exactly backwards. It's really very twisted that adults are being treated like children. People are actually acting like adults. Let's just say that. People who are acting like adults are being treated like children. People who are pretending to act like adults are being treated like children in the, coddling sense. And then our children are being treated like adults. Like they're supposed to weather this storm. They're supposed to, mentally be able to cope with all of the things. They can't see their friends. They can't go to school in person. They're not getting the special needs care that they need if they're a special needs child. They're not getting their sports. They're not getting exercise. They're not even getting to breathe fresh air. They know what's going on because they have social media or they're just listening to what's going on. They, if they're teenagers, they know what's going on and they know how these people are talking about them. And this is just despicable. So it's just something I've noticed. Like, what kind of society do we want to be? Do we want to hold adults accountable for behaving like adults? And do we want to allow adults who are trying to behave like adults to do that, whether it's to choose for themselves that they wear a mask or not, even out of politeness for somebody else? Or do we want to mandate that they do it? Do we want parents to say, I want to do the right adult thing and make sure my kid gets an education when I have to go to work to provide for our well-being and not welfare from the government that she doesn't want to give out. I want to do the right thing and earn an honest living, but I need my kids to go to the school that was promised to me that I paid for. And my kid needs that for their mental health and their education. There's learning loss, etc. I'm trying to be an adult. I'm trying to not just go, oh, well, I guess I'll just sit back and get an EBT and, Big Daddy government can take care of me and my kids. And my kids can be ignorant, illiterate, brats for the rest of their lives. That's fine. That's not adult behavior. What is it they expect of these parents? Exactly. What are they expecting them to do? Well, they have a choice. They could go to private school. That's the other thing. They have a choice. They could go to private school. Well, okay. So what exactly are you saying? So it's perfectly okay for the private schools to be open, but not the public schools. But they're murderers of teachers if they send their kids to school. Now, this is probably based on an act related to school choice. And they're saying the parents already have choice. Well, that's also hilarious because Catholic school today is more expensive. And you're assuming parents want to send their kids to Catholic school. Other private schools are much more expensive. Not every person wants to send their kid to parochial school if you are not a Catholic. That should go without saying. But apparently the people who disagree with her are the white supremacist, racist, offensive bigots. Culturally insensitive. But she can do it. It's okay for her because she knows what's best for everybody. It's just upside down, guys. It's upside down. So I guess what I want you to think about, if you're a parent and you're watching this and your school is closed or partially closed, or you're being treated like you don't know what's best for you or your kids, is I want you to ask yourself, do I feel like I'm being treated like a responsible adult by my school board, by my school, by my legislature, by my governor, etc.? Do I feel like I'm being treated like a responsible adult or like an errant child who does not know how to make his or her own decisions? And if the answer is the latter, then may I suggest that you not engage with these people, because you should not subjugate yourself to people who condescend to you and treat you like you are less than. You should do that. And you definitely shouldn't entrust your children to people like that, because guess what they're doing to your children? They are treating your children like they're parentless. Because if they treat you like a child, that means they're treating your kid like they have no parents. And then they're turning to your child and expecting them to have adult thoughts. It's abuse, no matter how you slice it. You don't treat a child like an adult. You don't expect your child to grapple with these complex issues. And you don't expect a child to deal with the kind of mental, the kind of stress that comes from the decisions that they're making as if it's no big deal. They've not once talked about that. They've not once talked about mental health for children. And I see it all over the place. I see it in the media. I see articles about it every single day. It is harder to find a bed in a hospital mental health unit, especially for children or teenagers, than it is to find one if you have COVID. Much harder. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody's covering it. I guess we're not adult enough to handle it. Or they just want to keep the narrative going. So ask yourself, am I being treated like an adult or like a child? And if your child is in school and getting these materials, are they expecting your child to have adult thoughts and adult reasoning capability or not? I think they are. I think they are. Not in the sense that they expect the children to actually challenge it. They're just claiming the children can. They're claiming the children are ready for this. They're claiming the children have all these thoughts and make all these judgments when it is absolutely 100% the opposite. They aren't, and they don't, and they can't. So if you're seeing this upside down world in your own life, you need to disengage. That's my advice. You can take it or leave it. But I don't see any positive outcome here. Now, if you want to go head to head and sue these people, if you've got an IDEA claim, if you want to get a group of parents together and sue them, go for it. By all means, be a thorn in their side. I can see lots of value in doing that, for its own sake. But for your mental well-being, for your child's mental well-being and education, you can't engage with people who treat you like a little kid. And you can't protect your child if they're treating you that way because of how they're going to then turn around and treat your child. All right. So just a couple of little examples to throw that out there. And I hope y'all had a great week while I was gone. I really didn't want to come home. I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun. Anyway, so that's this video. If you like this video, comment on this video, share this video, subscribe if you're not already. And that's the video.